because pretty much there are no much achievements if we want to really,
his achievements in Lagos State.
No, I mean
No, on the party.
Yeah, party.
Oh, okay. Okay. No, but then you will now calculate the party's successes, including Buhari's regime, because I mean that is APC.
That's what I'm saying. We are looking at this particular administration. So if he wants to happen, what this administration has done great.
Oh, you're saying they're not bold enough to
hold
on.
Exactly.
If you'd also want to say, speak the minds of the youth right now, you would say that they are actually tired of the parties that have ruled over time, the PDP, the APC. That is why most of them are actually singing the songs of the LP. So we're just looking forward to what exactly this person is going to come up with during his manifesto, whatever he's going to say during the campaign coming September 28th. We're just looking for what they would bring to the table, and yes, okay, we'll ask if this person is the right person for us.
Anyways, our fingers are crossed on it.
Yeah, so we'll move to our next story. We'll leave Tinubu to, the issues. But at this point, like we said, as we progress with declaration of assets, we are even going to see more things and more stories popping out. And I'm sure that his campaign team, they're already ready to, handle all of those conversations. And another thing I strongly believe is that Lagosians are the ones that can actually tell us the truth about the owners of this property. And with regards to the Oriental Hotel case, after the NSAS protest where hoodlums or people actually went to kind of destroy the facility, people came out. Now, management came out to say, I think Wemberg or so came out to say they are the owners of a rental hotel, that they own 99%. And now these are still things that business people can do. You own it, but you front another person as the owner.
Exactly. So that is what we are saying. Yes. We're still saying the same thing, that it could be that still Tinubu is the owner,
yes,
but he's
beginning to front people so that it doesn't look like he.
The truth is they're always fronting.
Of course, so that the statement of him owning half of Lagos is not out there and it's true. So this is an attempt to front people as owners of those things.
They're always
That's why I said
people.
Whether or not we believe he's the owner of those things is left to Nigerians to decide.
And also Lagosians.
And Lagosians. You get my point. So we know how these things work. But then let's move to a really happy story. Adeswai Temi Wellington received an honorary degree by her alma mater. That's the University of Wolverhampton, England.
Yeah.
This is a sheer beauty.
Yeah.
And it's like the clear case of beauty and brains. Yes. And it was such a sight to behold.
Yeah, definitely such a sight to behold. And I'm sure Banky Wellington is a proud husband. And seeing his wife up on that stage being awarded with an honorary degree from a university she graduated from. And if you want to also look at her antecedents in that particular school, you'll know that she did pretty well. And I think at some point we heard that more like she was a first-class graduate.
Yeah, she's
or something.
a first-class graduate of drama and performance.
So anybody that is a first-class graduate and has put in so much, in drama and performance as well, in arts, let's put it that way, I think that she deserves what she got yesterday or so. Yeah, she really deserves it.
And also, to be awarded like that, you have to be excellent in your field of expertise before you gain that kind of prominence, and also being rewarded by the university or alma mater. Yes, you have to have done something commendable. And if you could check out from her history, her movies, she has done excellently well. Yeah. Also trying to manage the marital life and also trying to balance all of this. I would say she's my today's Wednesday.
Yeah.
So she's our WCW.
Okay. Woman Crush Wednesday.
Okay, absolutely nice. So,
right.
So Mary has introduced a new segment to Rise and Shine called Woman Crush what,
Wednesday,
Wednesday.
yeah.
So today we are officially starting with Adesua
Adesua
Tommy
Tommy
Wellington.
Wellington,
Nice
yeah.
catch. I mean, you see what we're talking
Yeah,
about
she's our
here.
star girl.
Yeah, she's
Yeah,
a
she's our
star
star
girl.
girl
Yeah.
for today.
Great,
That is
great,
Wednesday. But
great.
again, I think that this is really commendable when you talk about women and doing great things. And then I think some few months back or weeks back now, we saw the likes of
Tiwa
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 Savage.
Savage
Savage.
being awarded as well. And we've seen other great people too, in the movie industry being awarded with honorary degrees. I think I can't
A
remember.
few weeks ago, we also had Ireti Olatoro,
Yes,
and
Irachola
then
Doro.
what's his name? Bob
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 Manuel.
Manuel,
Manuel.
Yes,
Doko.
some certifications and
Yes, and all
doctorates
of
like
that.
that.
So,
So I mean, Dr. Susu says now the name is Dr. Susu.
yeah, put some
Yes,
respect
yes,
on
put
that
some respect,
name.
and that name is Dr. Susu.
And then,
So big congratulations. I mean, look at her very ever proud
yeah.
Banky W of her husband.
And you needed to see her outfit. Like, she was looking like one,
16-year-old.
princess, very petite and all of that. And I don't know if we, on a lighter note now, if we saw what she did with her husband's all-time classic, what's the name of the song now? She remixed the song,
Okay.
the beatings and everything. She did the different voice.
Parts.
Thank you. You're an artist, so you understand the different voice parts. Oh, I'm trying to remember that song by just slipped
Final
me.
say.
Is it
Is it final say?
is it
Yes,
final
no.
say?
Which one?
They make my heart go ding ding.
Okay, we'll
Yeah,
try to look forward at.
they do me strong thing. Yeah, strong thing now. Yeah, see,
Okay.
they do me strong thing. She did that song and she did different parts. She mixed it together. She did the beating and she put everything together by the help of some of her I think colleagues or something like that. And then she put it out on the internet. And some celebrity said, "Come on, Panky, this is no more your song.
Yeah.
This song should be at Desua's right now
Susu
because she
has
did a
won it over.
fantastic artistic work in that song." So it was really
She's such a
beautiful to
great
see.
inspiration.
Yeah, she is.
She's actually a really great inspiration. She's consistent, and then when it even comes to her art, she tasks herself to really new realms of acting. It just goes beyond, pretty girl phase. She's going into the Catwoman of Nigeria, acting some really action movie, stuff like that. So really, it's a great catch for Adesua Etomi Wellington, and that's where we're going to wrap it here right now for, our woman crush Wednesday,
yeah.
as Mary has said. And we're going to head on straight to the news brief desk, where we'll be hearing all of the stories of things happening around the world. When we return, Rise and Shine will definitely continue. Do stay with us.
heads of state and government, Secretary General, distinguished delegates.
His Excellency Lagos, Nigeria today as we want to report for the last 6 county.
Good morning. This is your morning news brief on Spectrum, live from Uyo. I am Mary Joseph. We begin with the federal government as it has formally taken over ownership of King David University of Medical Sciences, Uburu, Ebonyi State, pursuant to a promise by President Muhammadu Buhari in May. A memorandum of understanding to that effect was signed in a ceremony convened in the conference room of the Federal Ministry of Health, Abuja. Meanwhile, the federal government has called on the Nigerian Medical Association to advise young doctors against relocating out of the country, considering the important role they play in the society. Head of Civil Service of the Federation, Dr. Folashade Yemiesa, who gave the charge in Abuja, observed that the rate at which resident doctors traveled abroad to practice without serving the country was a cause for concern. In the meantime, the federal government has urged state and local governments, as well as other stakeholders in the country, to provide their statutory responsibilities for the National Youth Service Corps, while declaring open the 2022 National NYSC Governing Board meeting. With the 36th chairman of the NYSC State Governing Boards in Abuja, the FCT Minister Mohammed Bello said poor performance by some stakeholders negatively affected the scheme's ability to operate effectively. In politics, the Independent National Electoral Commission says the estimated 3 million internally displaced persons would participate in the 2023 general elections. The Commission added that measures to ensure all eligible Nigerians, including the IDPs, exercise their franchise at the next year's polls have been put in place. Let's move now to the foreign scene, where the United Nations Chief Antonio Guterres is calling on Russia and Ukraine to agree a demilitarized perimeter around the Russia-held Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant in Ukraine. Guterres made the request while addressing the 15-member UN Security Council. And finally, in sports, Chelsea have slumped to a surprise 1-0 defeat away to Dinamo Zagreb in the opening game of the Champions League group stage. Mislav Orsic scored the only goal on 13 minutes in Zagreb as the Croatian champions extended their unbeaten run at Stadium Maxper to 20 matches in all competitions. We'll have details of their stories and more in our news at 12. I am Mary Joseph. Let's head back to Rise and Shine. Have a wonderful morning.
Heads of state and government, Secretary General, distinguished delegates.
His Excellency Lagos, Nigeria today as we want to report for the last 6 county.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by cross them. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
a knowledge of global businesses, economic activities, a new wave of the stock market, forex market, cryptocurrencies, and NFTs creates new dynamics towards emerging market millionaires and billionaires. From the dot-com era to the oil booms, the fundamental news drives the market. This is Business 360, taking you to the business around the globe. Join us from 11:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. weekdays, exclusive on Spectrum Television. Business 360, your prism to world businesses.
Many thanks for still being there. It's still Rise and Shine, your early morning starters, and we just came off the news brief desk where we had Mary Joseph tell us some of the things happening in the country and outside the country as well. Anyways, this is just to let you know that you can be part of this conversation and part of the show by joining us on all our socials, to follow us on Facebook and on YouTube. Of course, all of which you can find on our website at spectrumtv.ng. And you can also be a part by calling the numbers on your TV screen right now. Okay, so ladies, we still have one other very trending conversation talking about Susu, on the other hand, that, was honored, given an honorary degree from her alma mater to some other person in Ondo State, Lautech. Is it or your state, I beg your pardon, who decided, okay, so since I graduated from school, I don't think that the certificate is doing me any good. Let me go back and hand over the certificate to the school authority and take back my money, all the monies I've spent in paying school fees, just because I can't get a job from this. And the man says he's been suffering since he graduated from school. And so we'll just take that video and we'll be right back.
We want to come with certificate. This one a drama. Open return certificate come on Congo.
Obviously, I think that looking at the video, lots of people are going to laugh about it. It's quite funny how someone will graduate from Ladoke Akintola University in Oyo State and decided, it's a polytechnic rather, and decide to come back after how many years, to return that particular certificate, saying that he's suffering and the certificate is doing him no good. It's quite funny, like, from the video and everything, but I think it's a more serious issue here because we look back at how many graduates a university churns out every year and how many of these graduates are actually employed, have good paying jobs, and are doing well for themselves.
Also, talking about that, I recently read a story about the Ministry of Health calling on resident doctors to come back to serve their country, but when there is no work for them, why wouldn't they have the options to travel out of the country for greener patches, to get better life and every other thing? Now, coming back to the current ASU strike that is going on, we know that, okay, at some point in the ministry, there's an age level that at some point, if you're 35, you won't be employed at some places. And you look back at some of the students who are at home sitting down for months, and during the ASU strike, when we return back to school, we pay fees, we pay handouts, we do all of those stress, coming back home, and then there is no work. It's something that we should talk about. That person is the action, him going back to the school to return everything, is something he thought of. He was like, okay, that's my only option. Like,
more like he's coming out from a place of frustration.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
So for him to come out to do that is to tell you, and also to tell the government, that there is something really wrong with the country and we need to sit up and try to make amends.
Yeah, it looks laughable, but then, like you said, it's a serious situation.
Yeah, very serious situation.
However, he had thought about going to return his certificate as a way to ameliorate that issue is rather laughable. How much is the school fees cumulative over the 4 years, or maybe how many years that he studied in school? I mean, it's a polytechnic. But then the issue there is that we have a serious crisis on our hands with regards to the economic crunch that people are experiencing, the lack of jobs, the lack of opportunities. Because sometimes it's like, okay, if the government is not offering you opportunities for jobs, you go out there and create one for yourself. But we are not very in touch with the reality of the fact that oftentimes some of these go out there and create something and become an entrepreneur. It still takes money. On the average, now, if you'd say a graduate, someone wants to invest in palm oil, for instance, palm oil used to go for as low as 9,500, 7,000, 8,000, sometimes in Tonima's 25-liter keg.
Okay.
But now that same quantity of oil is going for as high as 20,000. Now, someone who's not earning an income is literally feeding from hand to mouth every day, wants to go into that business. You don't know that it's actually a very uphill task for certain people to be able to raise as low as 20,000 as capital for business. So you don't know how long these persons have continued, back and forth. Sometimes you gather the money and then an emergency comes, maybe with your health or your family, and that money goes. So there's a lot of things that is frustrating people. So whether you say there are no jobs, youths should become more proactive and create businesses for them. We are talking about enabling environments for these businesses also. So the lack goes beyond just one thing. It goes beyond the fact that our education system is failing. It goes beyond the fact that even though we are churning out millions of graduates every year, there are no jobs. You come to saying, okay, let's all become entrepreneurs. The enabling environments are lacking.
Also, you said something about becoming an entrepreneur. Now, I went through the comments of that particular post, and then someone said, oh, why don't you get a skill? You went to school. Why don't you learn something, learn a trade, know how to fix this, know how to fix that, and then you earn money. Now, this is someone that went through the four walls of a school. Now, I'm also in school and going there. I went to school, going there to work, to come back to learn a trade. It's something that I would say, I won't say it's impossible, but it's hard to balance both professions.
But I think again, yeah, even if you look at the university, how it is being structured right now, I think more like the driving conversations right now is that our university structure is not one that gives our young people or our graduates,
the requisite training.
The requisite training. So it's more like we're coming to school to just get a certificate, and after that we're done with. So there's also the conversations of trying to inject entrepreneurial skills in even our university, what do you call it now? Our university curriculum, where students are also trained for different kinds of skills acquisition, so that you just don't come out and be someone that is looking for government job or white collar jobs, but is someone that is also able to do something with their hands in terms of skill acquisition. But I think that where I have a problem is just what I said when she said that even the government is not creating that enabling environment for people to thrive. Now, when you talk about enabling environment and being an entrepreneur, we talked about the TCN in Adiabo yesterday that, got burnt and all of that. Where is even the electricity power that we are supposed to use to generate some kinds of convenience and make sure our businesses thrive? So these are some of the lapses that we are seeing, in the country. But let's come back to even this man in the Ladoke University of Technology now. Okay, you coming back to return your certificate. What kind of certificate was this in the first place? What was your degree in the first place? Okay,
of course.
Yes, so we should look at all of those things. So if you say that the certificate has not yielded the kinds of results that you wanted it to yield, it is not just about the certificate. It is about you as a person. How are you able to sell yourself in places that you went to get a job, to seek for a job? So these are the kinds of balances that we need to see, young people exude in order to get jobs. So it's not just about taking my certificate to try to get a job and I'm not getting the job. I think that more than not, we should sit down and say, okay, so now, for example, you take a certificate and your resume to get a job, and your resume is looking like that of 1992, when they have, there are different patterns of writing resumes these days. It has evolved from even what we used to write before to more trending ways and more catchy ways. So these are the small things that people do not even likely know. So you're taking your certificate back to the university to say, let them give you your refunds of your school fees. Even if those refunds are given to you now, what do you intend to do with it? So at the end of the day, you find out that the money is not even properly invested because you do not even have the wherewithal to manage those resources and bring out the kinds of results that you want even in your business.
Of course, it calls for very strong self-development.
Yeah.
Now, whether or not people have jobs when they come out of the university or they're able to, go into one form of skill or trade, we need to be consistent with developing ourselves as individuals, really. The times are moving, the trends are moving. We need to, upbeat our skills and even our vocation, in regards to those things. Now, even let's use the media, for example. The way media work was done in years past is not the same way it's being done now. So the things that we studied in schools, which some of those learning curriculums have become obsolete, but they are still being used in our schools. These different departments and different courses that are taught in school, are they taught in line and alignment with the current trends and changes in the world? No, it's not really happening. So at the end of the day, like in the case of this young man, are you developing yourself? Find a way to develop yourself. And really, I'm really going to say this, at some point, self-development includes volunteering in certain organizations for free until you have gained the knowledge that makes you sellable with your certificate. So even if you say my certificate has not brought me a job after a couple of years of not graduating from school, look for an organization that you can volunteer for free. Okay, I'm going to come work for you for free. Let me just learn the skill. Let me upbeat myself. Then eventually, you can even add that in your certificate, in your curriculum vitae. When you go somewhere and they say, where have you worked? You will be able to show that you have volunteered in so place for a year, and this is what you learned. These things are increasing your opportunities to become employable, because employability is something else.
Yeah, definitely.
So at the end of the day, yes, government has its part to play. There's a lot of frustration out there, but as individuals, we are human beings and we have a lot of capacity. Stretch yourself to the limit, and so that when the opportunity eventually does come for you, someone said to me, be ready so that you don't have to get ready. So just be ready. Prepare yourself for those opportunities. It's a frustrating situation, but alas, initially I wanted to say Nigeria has happened to the man, but do not allow Nigeria to happen to you, really.
Well, when you talked about volunteering, I was just looking at you because if you tell that to a lot of young people today, they won't listen to you.
Exactly what I wanted to say.
And for every opportunity I have to talk to people, I tell them to go and volunteer because I'm a product of volunteering. And I think for a lot of people, they don't even understand that the first person how do I put it now? The first beneficiary of any volunteering process is you as a person. And if you go volunteer in any organization that you like and you would want to see yourself in that organization, go and volunteer there, because one, you're building capacity. Secondly, if there is an opening for a job, I do not think that any right-thinking management of any organization will begin to look at outside to pick someone to fill that vacuum. They will definitely look at you, depending also on how you have been able to build yourself, on how you've been able to build capacity, and how effective you are in that particular position that you have. So I believe that for every opportunity you have to learn from somebody or something, it is good you learn, because you never know where that knowledge can take you to in the future. So volunteering for me is like a yes for every young person. Okay, so I also think that maybe, I don't know, the identity of this man is not being revealed, but it's quite pathetic to see him in that sorry situation, because whatever he did yesterday from the video is out of deep frustration that he's not been able to get a job. And looking at him, of course, that he's a family person, so where does he get the money from to support his family and all of that? But we just
can clearly see that this video wasn't done for the clout, more like, okay, let me go stage a drama at Loud Tech so that I'll be video. This is more like a passerby who saw what was happening and popped a video, and then it's trending on the social media. So you just see that this person has been pushed to their edge, yes, because of lots of frustration and all of that. But we hope that help comes for him.
Again, yeah, let's even look at it from a lighter perspective now. Whatever put it in his head to go return his certificate for a refund of his money is quite laughable.
Yes.
Because does he actually think that he can actually get a refund from what he is, asking for? Does he think that way?
Also, I think the government also have to create an enabling environment also for jobs to be created, because when there are adequate numbers of jobs that could fit the citizens, yes, it could help reduce cases like this. And also, I would say a little tip of advice to youth, also those who are at home right now during the ASU strike, is to put their mind towards self-development and capacity building, other than looking for create a job there and then you'll be like, oh, hello, are you this so and so person, come over and come and start working. Try volunteering, as you said, at some organizations, and rather than waiting at home, sitting at home waiting for someone to prepare an already made job for you from heaven.
Yeah, and really the craze of needing to make it now, needing to be earning 150,000 now.
Yes.
All of those things are the issues, because some people see opportunities that, yes, is offering 25,000, 30,000, 35, but they do not want to take it on because, I mean, it's beneath.
But another thing, let me just say something. Another thing is, you're coming out to say that, okay, I want a job of 150,000. Are you able to even give value worth of the 150,000? So that's one thing.
I think also we should remove our mind from the years back when someone would come out from school, I'm a first class graduate, and they'll be like, okay, yes, I'm from this company, come and work for me. We do see first class graduates right now in this climb doing some other things, and you'll be like, oh, I'm shocked you're a first class graduate. So we should remove our mind from all of these things and say, okay, even if I work so hard in school, I shouldn't be waiting for someone to pat me at the back and say, okay, come here, hand over this job for me. I need to work for it.
That's how it's supposed to be. I think that's how it's supposed to be.
That's
for people
failure on the part of the government.
On the part of government. That's pure
sheer
failure. Yes, and irresponsibility on the part of government.
Because, I mean, people are going to schools. The government is making some salient promises that when you come out, there's going to be jobs. And then we are coming out. When was the last time that the civil service of your state employed?
There's more like a blanket embargo or ban
across
on
the
employment.
36 states. And people are retiring every year and people are dying. So who are the people that are filling up those positions? There's a lot of lapses when it comes to the government.
Of course, yes.
There's a lot that the government can do better. Well, we say people develop yourself, but there's a lot of lacuna when it comes to employment. These services keep going on and on. People are dying. People are retiring every year. People are even moving up to better opportunities. How are you refilling those positions? Sometimes you will hear they are back-end recruitment done.
Man, no man.
Yes, man, no man. The common people on the streets of the city do not know that these opportunities are there. People are taking it on.
Before you even see the application, it's already taken.
The slots are already full.
And then you ask yourself, when was the last time you even saw vacancies being displayed and advertised on newspapers or even on televisions? Before, we used to see vacancies,
Go to a post office.
All those kinds of things.
That was before, but we have to understand that before you say that Nigeria, how did you say that? Nigeria is happening to you. Why don't you work towards building yourself so you don't fall into that kind of circumstances?
Yes, but see, what we're saying is, yes, there's a part for building yourself, but let us consider the fact also that we have people who've worked on themselves, but they're still lacking opportunities. We have people who went to school, invested the time, graduated with good results, and they're still at the mercy of looking for requisite opportunities. So it's something that is swinging to different angles, and a lot of people have blame. If the government handles their own issue, the youth handle their own issue. Like we always say, let's come to a middle ground and meet ourselves. It's not that government is not doing what they're supposed to do. Young people are not doing what they're supposed to do. But you know that young people in this country, we are active.
Just like she pointed out, talking about, I think we're led to this other side of conversation, was she talking about you coming out as a first-class graduate and not wanting to put your mind to government giving you a job. Come on. A first-class graduate, if you come out as a first-class graduate, I think it behoves on government to say, okay, fine, you're one of our best.
And they give you
Take
100,000 because that is what they do right now.
Take this job, okay? That is what happens in other climes. When once they notice that you're a genius of some sort, they help to build that capacity because you're an asset to them, okay? So I think that's on that is a failure of government not to create job opportunities for people like that, because getting a first class in school is not a joke. Okay, so I think at this point we'll just take a breather, and when we come back, of course, we'll be looking at the Electoral Act Amendments 2022 and how it's going to affect the 2023 elections, knowing fully well that this has been more like a clamor coming from the 2010 Electoral Act that was rejected and reviewed. Let's see how this one is going to play out as we move to the 2023 general elections. We'll be right back shortly. Stay with us.
The people of Ikotokobo are mostly farmers. They major in the farming of crops such as okra, pepper, palm oil processing, as well as fishing. The road, according to the indigents, has remained inaccessible for years. Reports say that the road was later awarded to Hense Construction in 2019. The indigents stress that the condition of the road has made the movement of farm produce to the markets very challenging. They also complain that their products are wasted during rainy season because they do not have access to channel them to the market.
I mean, ke de je ko ban. Franyin ne frefen franyin. Akon okusang. Okwerm. Isa ki ba mi. Egbe wo mo ero di ku okwerm. Egbe tere ki wuru sang. E kan ni zo yon. Bet nta ti go yo ra mi. Ana mo ero di. Edi ni wana menyin frem. So mbok imisunu wo ikbisunu yo. Igbe governor nyin. Ibo mbok. Ya mo isunu wa mi no nyin. Kusanga do franyin eti. Usanga na mko uru anyin. Amadi ku iyak. Ini esuto iyak afogbe yem aru kete. Berefrero ini uru asinyam because of usang.
Akpan bor usang me. Usanga mi aba freke sem ko nyina tak. Usang iba. Iko fongi ba isa ki kami kayam ko mi. Yen tak mban bat. Tunwang baro ma ko won tak po usanga ba. Kusang nyini ni emi a link usanga sanga ke kai pe koronkun. Ake link Igwere Junction. Ikpe Aruchuku Road. Nyini mini junction do. But tonron din di voice di banja. Mbanyin. Enam bomi nonyin.
They, however, called on the state government to revisit the area and help them have access to good roads.
Kwaibu Church Secondary Commercial School, a community secondary school in Mia community, is one of the long-standing schools in Pateni local government area. Founded in 1972, the institution has churned out successful Nigerians across the South-South region and beyond. Reports say that the institution was one of the best rated in the past, but for decades now, the glory of the school has been buried in the deplorable condition where it is today.
Things are not very fine in this school. I'm struggling left and right tooth and nail to make sure I correct one thing or the other. We are bordering out to repair the principal quarters under renovation at hand. We've been abandoned. Everything here. In 1973, a sovereign in this school, only 7 teachers in question. Other subjects are sovereign. The core subjects are sovereign, no teachers here. My humble appeal is now that government should be able to look into all this public school. Most of this is Mia own.
The indigents say that the state government was aware of the plight of the school and had promised to reposition the citadel of learning.
Government personalities over time is visit, take photographs. The government of Udom Emmanuel is excellency. I get take up. The commission computer lab here. 50 computers, sets more. We have up to 800 students in this school. at all. You have about 7 teachers, 2 PTA staff. So being your government, no teachers, you from with me. Teaching and non-teaching staff.
Still in Mia community, which also draws attendance from pupils across the 6 villages under Mia community.
This school is fed by about 4 villages. Ikora Devia Mia, Ikora Bel Mia, Ikora Basim Mia, and Ikora Kaide Mia. Even most of the children have been coming from Ikora Bagop. I am appealing to the state government, the buildings, and maintaining the school, the better standard, because the children are many. And teachers should be sent down to this school to take care of the children.
As the people remind government on the urgency for the rehabilitation of the schools, they also plead for more teachers to be sent to the schools to meet the learning demand.
And while we're still trying to sort out our guests to talk about the Electoral Act Amendment Bill and how it's going to affect the 2023 elections, let's also look at a very ugly trend that has continued, to become a prevalence in this country, Nigeria, and that's talking a particular woman somewhere in Rivers State. Now, this woman would say that is not just an ordinary woman, but somebody that is the Reverend Sister, has a title of Christianity attached to her name, being arrested in River State with 15 abducted children. And I've actually confessed that she was trafficking them or something. But let's hear.
You are a reverend sister. Are you a reverend sister? Are you ordained?
I cannot say I am a reverend sister now that I have been a disgrace, but I believe I am earlier before now.
Which order of the reverend sister?
Yes, now let us talk. It's a good question. It's a good question. How people I am of. It's located. The mother house is in England.
Where is it located in Nigeria?
If people should browse it, you will see that the sisters there, they wear trousers. And for me to be enrolled, when it was during my existence, they compensated me and I came back to Nigeria and I've been managing. I have a clinic actually. What's the name of it? And register with CFC.
How did you get these 15 children?
Yes. I will say Francisca, Emmanuel, Justice, Chukwu Emeka, that of Miracle, Queen, Favor, Mad Bosch, are brought to me by one Mr.
It's not allowed that land. Yes, continue.
Sometimes he comes with them in twos. He comes with them in, and the Yebuchi was brought to me by one Miss Alice.
Through Victor. To do what? How do you get them? To do what with them?
These ones, they said that Alice said that since my own up,
and you didn't ask.
There's a lot to this story. I mean, there's a lot to this story. I think where I would really love to start from is the fact that this is a woman who is impersonating as a reverend sister. I think we need to put that out very strongly, or else this becomes a fight against religion.
That's right.
So that this is a clear case of someone who's impersonating as a Reverend Trollsies and all of those things. You can see it's just like cock and bull story. But then 15 children. Now there is this, the conversation there is more like she's coming under the guise of running an orphanage. And we've seen this player, you can't keep track of what's happening. And this is a literal menace that is happening, especially even in the south, south region. You just, I mean, she talked about having how many children taken from.
It's quite weighing down, and I just can imagine if we really try to unveil or unravel, you never can tell, and that is a form of criminality.
It's
Inhumanity,
She actually
inhumanity
said
of
she
man
wasn't
to
only
another.
the one in this. She had
Yeah,
some
she has
accomplices,
like
depending on the children or wherever they got them from. So it's something that is like a chain. So aside only fishing her out, you have to also fish out other persons.
Of course, can tell where she was taking those children to, and what exactly they intend to do with these children. And so sometimes we hear about rituals. Sometimes we hear about these children being used as sex slaves. Sometimes we hear that, we hear the story of Ekure Madu and his wife Beatrice. We're not even done with that yet, even though there are some very sketchy discrepancies when it comes to that particular story. Also see some kinds of laxity on the part of parents. Where would you say you left your children to, doing things like this? And,
sometimes they're not even taken away by like out of nowhere. Some of these people come to families and have bidding conversations. They bid for your child. So I'm going to take, for instance, and they will work and send you money. So sometimes it's not even just the case of a child being kidnapped or taken away from their parents. You have people see you face to face and bid for your child, and you say that the economy is too hard, and you sell the child off, or someone of your children, and you have 300,000. You know that 300,000 sounds like a million bucks to some people, and these are some of the ways that they trade their children also.
Also, looking at the pictures, you see that some of these kids were lack more food, and then I would say that is when a person gives birth to the total number of children that they can handle or manage. And that brings us back to, should I say family planning, or somehow to take
How many
care?
people even want to do family planning these days? Do people even know about family planning? But it's a serious problem, giving birth to children that you cannot take care of, depending. I think I had stories like
the
when
males
you give
are
birth,
sold
for 200, and the girl child is being sold for 150,000, and all of that. But I think that the happy thing or the good thing about all of this is that sometimes government is trying to like bust some of these baby making factories, and bust some of those people for where the head of NAPTIP came to talk about some of those things and how we can actually mitigate against them. So maybe we just take that report and then we come back to this particular conversation.
The whole church leaders, mothers, fathers, the society as a whole should frown at people having children out of wedlock. They should frown at it, because we found out the bulk of the victims of human trafficking are children born out of wedlock. So there is no proper parental care. Nobody cares for them. Go into the people come to deceive them and take them away to be exploited elsewhere. So people should learn to have the number of children they can cater for. The society should frown off having children out of wedlock.
I think even way beyond that. Yes, great advice. And I still bring it back to the family front, the home front. How do you even take care of your children beyond just having these children? How do you take care of them? How do you, how do I put it down? How do you cancel them? How do you caution them? The other day, and you could see that, you know, the family played a very key role in shaping him, not just in terms of his educational background now, but also in terms of his values and what he thinks of life as in general. So I think beyond just saying justice in this country in terms of morals, in terms of values that we have, and so you see a lot of influencers even from outside, from peers, you know, in the lives of children. And so today you see a child wakes up in the morning and he's talking to his parents anyhow, and they cannot, child becomes pregnant, and there's no form of care, no form of anything. And then it becomes a problem, taking care of that child, taking care of the child brought forth, and all of that. So you find out that it's very easy for someone to just come and tell you some stories, and then you fall for
those things. But now let's come to being responsive and responsible. We talk a lot about when you see something, say something. When you see these kinds of activities going on in your environment, do we know the child that's about to be trafficked? You know, when you see, you know, like Nollywood used to show us in those days that an auntie will come from the city and, you know, go to the village and want to take your child and help you train them in the city. Some of those kinds of, to pick out, right, when these kinds of things are happening. Like Tina Ugu, the NAPTIP chairperson, rightly said, we need to be able to collaborate in the south. I mean, like, bringing it back home now to Akwa Ibom is something that she's rightly said is on the rise, flying around literally.
street children.
Street children in their number, and you're wondering who did this to these children, how did they get to this point? And sometimes even the government is trying their best. We have these kinds of situations of children hanging around, is that children were being consistently stigmatized as witches, branded, you know, and stigmatized as witches and wizards, and so you would have them being thrown out of their houses, and then they're just loitering the streets, and before you know it, fake Reverend Sister was nabbed. It was good that, you know, maybe someone raised an alarm, and the 15 children now are really going to be.
We have lots of crimes, we have lots of drug addicts and all of that. When you look at it, some of this children trafficked, because you cannot tell me that you know, you traffic a child and the child remains sane, because depending on what you have trafficked that child for, the child could come back very traumatized, and then the child becomes a threat even to society.
More so, like train the trainer kind of thing.
More than often, we find children that are trafficked being some kind of menace, being trafficked. So you now have, you know, to be dealing with traumatized trigger. They could show some kinds of violent tendencies. And then we also have people taking to drugs these days. Of course, it can also lead them to, you know, becoming drug addicts and all of that, just because of the situation they have found themselves. So it's really pathetic, I must say. A short breather, and when we come back, of course, we'll be looking at our tidbit segment, and we'll call it a day for today. Just stay with us.
with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigeria.
I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of our brother.
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked.
My lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding you, lordship.
My lord.
It's amazing country, Nigeria.
A knowledge of NFTs creates new dynamics towards emerging markets millionaires and billionaires, taking you to the business around the globe. Join us from 11:30 a.m. to 12 p.m.
Come down home to Akwa Ibom State. I remember that initially when we started this conversation, we actually were looking at some of the things that they say that Ahmed Tinubu has done in Lagos State ticket for Nigeria. And that's more like, you know, politicians coming out to tell us what they have done in time past. And I think activities, ramp up projects to finish strong. That's more like the word right now in the political climate, finishing strong. And so in Akwa Ibom State, I think that's that he's been doing across the state. And one of which is causing a lot of buzz recently. And even till this morning is the 10 ring road at Idong
structures that we saw that wasn't really something great, and you would see the lights and everything, how the roads were constructed, and you could say that the 10 ring roads, it's something he would put on his completion agenda, saying that, oh, I did this during my regime, and it's something that those who are coming
to see that Governor Emmanuel Udom is doing everything possible. And I know that Udom Emmanuel, you know, I know that one of the things that he's really been after is the constructions of roads. And even though it hasn't been like, you know, a total constructions of roads across the state, but I think that he has done honorably well. And if this is Akwa Ibom State right now, then man, I doff my heart actually.
Where really some had dual carriageways, and you could see that all of them were created into a masterpiece that a lot of Akwa Ibomites could commend this particular governor for doing, because I know all of this was based on the Victor Atta regime, where he constructed all of this and did a blueprint and mapped out all these structures. But he I would also commend the past governor, Gospel Akpabio, who also tried to put to now roads. Yeah, well, let's try to do something to power, because we want power.
Yeah, I think that another good thing is even states having like a master plan for
not waiting for the federal government.
Yes, it's good that states have master plans, and it's also good that we see different in their different states. So I think that if Akwa Ibom State is having it, other states can actually emulate. So it's not just like one governor is coming today and doing something totally different, just to give himself some kinds of credibility and some kind of name. But we are all, you know,
I would say this is actually commendable, because we know the buzz, like Lagos is actually the forerunner. We should try bringing that home, and also try to, should I say, lessen the population that is there in Lagos. Let everybody come back home to do something for your state.
For Nigeria, as you know, as the case is right now. Speaking of 4 lanes and 10 lanes, now I know one of the conversations why this is even trending right now is more like people are saying, okay, can show why this is called, So now the stripes we see on the roads is actually demarcating and counting how many lanes we have on this expanse of road. So like if I start from you can count. So the division where we see just two, that's one drive on this particular lane at the same time.
Funny enough, this is something that Fashola actually did in Lagos, and Sanwo-Olu tried to complete, and he's still trying to think that Udom Emmanuel, that project was like 10 years. 10 years in Lagos, but now we just saw our governor doing it just within 8 years.
No, I think another thing you meant is quite a massive road. So you can just imagine someone trying to cross from one end of the road to the other.
But we
it's
need
quite,
a bridge.
yeah.
So we need a bridge.
Get hit by running vehicles or something like that. Because roads like this, you just have breakers or bombers that could actually break down, the speed of vehicles. So it's more like, just conveniently and avoid accidents as well.
Yeah, but when we're even talking about the fact that states should have blueprints and master for what a state should look like God so blessed us, Obon Victor Atta, in his administration, in his time, that's the gift that has a master plan and design things, places where things need to be put to give us that, mini London feel she was talking about, and the national agenda, not something that is necessarily going to push the state forward. This person comes and left office. The next person he came began to build upon the blueprints and the things he had started doing. Our state would be, we would have
talk about blueprints. Fantastic, it's good to have blueprints, but also this blueprint should also be open enough for tweaking and
of course.
So it's not just like totally because I could come and I have like a better way of making it's because I want my name printed on it. Or
continuity is just a very important thing. Well, everybody is going to bring their own ingenuity to the master. What if this administration does not holistically finish and everything else, commission it, but do not put the overhead bridge? The next person that comes in the next administration might say it's not my thing. Might now go to different administrations to make our states now across the 36 states of the federation to look in this regard. Now it's more like when a person does good, when there is an area you talk about it, but in a day and time when we see the good that Governor Udom Emmanuel has done with regards to here in Akwa Ibom State. So those are things that keep during television. And
I think it's also a way of celebrating Akwa Ibom at 35, away from just having smooth pathways for vehicles to move. Another angle that we should even look at and try to bring their perishable goods closer to people. And of course, that's one thing that has led to food insecurity, all the way from the farmlands now to the markets. And by the time they come from very good roads, electricity, these are things that's infrastructures that just has a way of alleviate.
To the tip.
Wow.
Oh, beautiful. Did you know there?
Wow.
Yeah, just so
fingernails when cutting meat for us.
Right.
So
I don't
if
know
you
why
butcher
your mind went there,
butcher your hand or your fingernails. That's very true. If you do something that excites your interest, you'd actually
involved in activities that would help you, and activities that you more creative ways, to do those things so that you're a recipe of the day.
sandwich. Yummy sardine sandwich. What a way to have breakfast. Breakfast and like fillers in between your days. And
Sardine sandwich.
quick preparation also.
Yeah,
That's usually
quick fix meals. For people that love finger breakfast, I think that the sandwiches with a cup of either coffee,
Yeah.
dinner,
light
dinner. Yeah. It says no matter how many mistakes you make or how quotes that no matter how many mistakes you make or how I think that's just a take home for everybody this morning.
And keep on being persistent and also consistent out there trying. So you're gaining the experience, and also shout out to those who are at home. Yes, if you're at home sitting on idle, try doing something. Yes, you would be
trying to achieve something. Rather learn from those mistakes and keep pushing.
Definitely. Great words from great people, and that's how we are going to be wrapping up the show this morning. It's been definitely see you tomorrow.
My name is Mary Joseph. Thank you so much for being a part of today's episode of Rise and Shine. Till we meet again, have a lovely day.
And my name is Janice Coburn. Thank you to all of your day, and do enjoy the rest of our programming on Spectrum Television. Bye-bye.